In 1972, a scientist watched the last mouse in his experiment die. Not from hunger, not from disease, not from a single predator, because there were none. Every need had been met. Food refilled itself. Water never ran dry. Disease was kept out by design. And still, one by one, over 4 years, an entire population went extinct inside a box with nothing wrong with it. The man running the experiment called it Universe 25. He once being poetic. It was simply the 25th version of the same test. But this one, he never forgot. Because this one answered a question he didn't know he was asking until it was too late to stop it. A year was 1968. His name was John B. Calhoun, and he worked for a government research lab just outside Washington, D.C. He went studying mice because he cared about mice. He was studying what happens to any population, mouse or human, when you remove every obstacle standing in its way. So he built them a paradise, a steel enclosure roughly the size of a small room, 16 vertical stacks of nesting compartments connected by mesh tunnels, food towers that never emptied, water spouts that never ran dry, nesting material replenished on schedule, no cats, no hawks, no sickness allowed in. Every single stressor that kills wild mice in the real world had been engineered out of existence. Then he placed 4 breeding pairs inside, 8 mice, and he waited. For the first few months, nothing but growth. Population doubled every 55 days. By day 315, there were over 600 mice living inside Universe 25, and by every measure, it looked like a success story. A civilization expanding exactly the way you had expected it to when nothing holds it back. But somewhere in that growth, something had already started to break, and it wants the food supply, it wants disease. It went the walls of the enclosure, it was the mice themselves. Because paradise, it turns out, has a ceiling nobody accounted for. Not a ceiling of food or water or space to build a nest. A ceiling of roles. In the wild, a mouse has a job: defend territory, find a mate, raise young, fight off a rival. Every one of those jobs takes space, and space was the one thing Calhoun hadn't actually made infinite. He had made food infinite, he had made water infinite, but the physical footprint of Universe 25 stayed exactly the same size. And eventually, the population outgrew the number of roles available to fill. Hundreds of mice, all fed, all healthy, all alive, and no jobs left, no territory left to claim, no purpose left to serve, and that's when the colony didn't just stop growing, it started to unravel. The dominant males, the ones who would normally control territory and protect their families, couldn't hold their ground anymore. There were too many challengers and not enough space to defend. So they gave up. They stopped fighting. Some withdrew completely, retreating to the center of the enclosure where the most vulnerable mice gathered, a location with no defensible territory at all. Meanwhile, without protection, the females became aggressive on their own, driving away their young earlier than they should have, sometimes attacking their own offspring. Males that would normally never behave violently outside of defending territory began attacking at random with no clear reason at all. Calhoun had a name for what he was watching. He called it the behavioral sink, a term for what happens when too many individuals are forced into the same physical and social space with none of the natural outlets that would normally relieve the pressure. Not physical crowding, social crowding. The mice had room to move, they didn't have room to matter, and that's when the strangest development of all began. A group of males started to appear who did something no mouse had ever really done before. They stopped trying. No fighting, no mating, no defending, no interest in the females at all, even when approached. They simply ate, slept, and groomed themselves over and over for hours a day in perfect isolation from the chaos happening around them. Calhoun's team gave them a name too. They called them the beautiful ones because without the scars of conflict, their coats stayed flawless, their bodies untouched by the violence consuming the rest of the colony. At first glance, the beautiful ones looked like the lucky ones, the survivors. The ones who had found a way to opt out of the collapse entirely, they weren't. Because when researchers tried to relocate some of the beautiful ones into a fresh, low-density enclosure, a second chance, a new universe, a world with roles available, and no crowding at all, something had already changed inside them that couldn't be undone. They didn't reclaim territory, they didn't fight for mates, they didn't rebuild, they just kept grooming, kept eating, kept doing nothing in a world that was now begging them to do something. Whatever paradise had taken from them, it didn't give back. By day 600, birth rates had collapsed entirely, not because the mice couldn't physically reproduce. Many of them simply never tried, and then it kept going. No new mice were born after a certain point in the experiment at all. The population that had once doubled every 55 days began aging without replacement, one by one, until only the elderly remained, wandering an enclosure built for thousands with almost no one left in it. By 1972, Universe 25 was empty. No war, no famine, no plague. A paradise, built to remove every obstacle a mouse could face, had produced a population that quietly chose to stop existing. Calhoun ran this same setup more than 24 times, changing variables, adjusting conditions, hoping for a different outcome. He never got one. Every version of Universe ended the same way. And that's the part of this story that made Calhoun's research reach far beyond a lab full of mice. Because he wasn't really trying to understand rodents, he was trying to understand cities. In 1962, Calhoun had published an earlier version of this same experiment in Scientific American, and it caught the attention of urban planners, sociologists, and government officials who were watching American cities grapple with rising crime, overcrowding, and social breakdown in dense housing projects. Here was a scientist who seemed to have found, in a steel box full of mice, a mechanical explanation for something happening in human societies too. Give a population everything it needs to survive, but strip away the roles, the purpose, the sense of being necessary to something, and survival itself stops being enough of a reason to keep going. It's worth pausing on how uncomfortable that idea actually is, because the assumption underneath most of modern life is that if you remove suffering, you create well-being. Fix the hunger, fix the danger, fix the scarcity, and people will thrive. Calhoun's mice had none of that suffering left, and thriving is the last thing that happened. Of course, mice are not people, and this is where the story gets more complicated than it first appears. Later, scientists pushed back hard on how far Calhoun's conclusions were being stretched. Human societies have language, culture, meaning-making, and choice in ways a mouse enclosure could never replicate. A crowded human city is not a crowded mouse box, and the behavioral sync was never proven to map cleanly onto human urban life the way it was sometimes used to suggest. Some researchers have pointed out that Calhoun's own methodology had flaws, and that his most dramatic findings may have said more about extreme, artificial captivity than about any universal law of overcrowded societies. But the unsettling part of the Calhoun effect was never really about crowding. It was about purpose, about what happens to any social creature, mouse or human, when the roles that once gave its life structure quietly disappear, even while every physical need is being met. What you just heard is only one psychological effect. There are dozens more invisible patterns shaping how we think, make decisions, build habits, and even sabotage ourselves without realizing it. That's exactly why I created the Psychology Survival Guide. Inside, you will discover 100 brain glitches, mental traps, cognitive biases, and psychological effects explained in simple language, with real-life examples and practical ways to use them to your advantage. If you want to understand how your mind really works instead of letting it control you, you will find the link in the description. Calhoun spent the rest of his career trying to answer a question his own experiment had raised but never fully resolved. Is it possible to build a version of Universe 25 where a population, given everything, doesn't just survive, but adapts, evolves, and finds new roles to replace the ones it lost? He believed the answer had to be yes. He never got to prove it. The enclosure that once held Universe 25 doesn't exist anymore, but the question inside it still does, somewhere between a species that solved its own survival and a species that still has something to do. If you enjoy stories where science meets psychology, hit subscribe. There's a lot more waiting beneath the surface.